Hey guys, this is James with The Grind. Today I want to talk to you about some of the things to remember when going for an in-person interview with the company, especially the initial interview. These things will be extra important. So firstly, preparation is key. So what you need to think about before you go in is research the company, research some of the openings that they have, know a little bit about their history, and especially if you're in a sales position, their competitors. That will be huge. And so as you research, just have a few things that maybe you could ask questions in the interview that let them know that you have looked into it, or if they ask you about it, it's a way to be prepared. So just know a little bit about the company first off. Secondly, bring multiple hard copies to the interview of your resume. So however many people you're interviewing with, add a couple to that. So if you're interviewing with one or two people, bring 3 or 4 resumes with you as in a hard copy, and keep one for yourself. You can even take notes on the one that you're going to keep for yourself. That way, if they want to go over your experience line by line, you're not trying to remember and think through your last positions and the specific dates and accomplishments, awards, all of that good stuff. You want to have it there for yourself. It's also really good to take notes during the interview if you get to a question asking portion, which also have questions prepared. That's one of the next things, and this is another kind of maybe covert way to show that you've done some research with the company. One of the next things, it sounds a little bit silly, but scout out the location of the interview. I know a lot of people do hotel lobby interviews. Some do them at their company. Some do it for coffee, but know where you're going and know how to get there. Leave early enough that the worst traffic would not make you late for the interview. So locally we have Interstate 85. There's a wreck every hour. So leave in enough time that it gives you a chance to actually maybe run into a little bit of traffic and you not have to worry. I usually try to be somewhere 20 to 30 minutes before the meeting, and that may seem extreme. I'm not going in and sitting there for 30 minutes, but I'm just giving myself enough time to where the stress of the unknown doesn't come into play. Now, once you get into the interview, first impressions are very important. I'm not a believer in first impressions are everything. I think that you can come back from certain mistakes and you change and you grow and relationships evolve, but that's another topic. As far as first impressions, they're very important, especially when interviewing. So whenever you go in, just think about what you are going to present yourself as. And that goes down to grooming, cleanliness, what you wear, obviously, a handshake, eye contact, all of those things that you do in normal life whenever you're meeting anyone go into play tenfold whenever you're doing, especially an initial interview. Guys, you'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. Wear a suit, wear a tie, no matter what you're interviewing for. I don't think there's ever a chance in an interview that you can go in over prepared or overdressed and it be an issue. Obviously don't wear a tux like in what is it, Step Brothers, but you can go in a suit to any job interview and look sharp. Ladies, you as well, you can wear, I know they make different types of suits, but just wear professional clothing. Grooming, I know different companies have different strokes and the kind of job market is changing, so I don't know if you have to be freshly shaved. I'm clearly not most of the time, but it doesn't hurt, I don't think. If you have tattoos, just I don't think they're an issue personally. I have quite a few, but I cover them up as well. Now, once you get into the actual interview piece and you are actually sitting down with the hiring manager or multiple people, you want to make sure that you're speaking clearly, calmly. You don't want to cut them off by any means. Like if they're in the middle of a question, let them finish the question, even if you know where they're going, and respond confidently but calmly. Don't speak a million miles a minute if you can help it. I know nerves sometimes get the better of people. I can speak pretty quickly when I get going and passionate about something myself, but you just want to convey that you are a clear communicator. So enunciate, use the best grammar that you can. Nobody's perfect, but really the key here is just clear communication and maintaining that eye contact with everyone. At the end of the day, we're all human. The CEO, the owner, the hiring manager, the director, the janitor, everybody that has a job is a human. So that may sound basic to you, but you just want to treat everybody with respect, whether it's in a job opportunity or not. Be humble, be gracious, and treat everybody like they're human. Look them in the eye, and just be friendly. I know that sounds silly, but the friendlier you are, the better impression you're going to make. And honestly, really friendly people are remembered far greater than people who are just kind of in the middle of the road. If you're overly friendly with people, they will remember that about you. So whenever you get to a question portion of an interview, I always encourage people to be completely honest. I know that you're trying to impress people on first interviews and you want to act like you know what you're talking about. But if you don't actually know, just be honest about it and ask questions. And just go in with a grateful attitude to be there and with the mentality that you're going to learn what you don't know and that you're willing to learn what you don't know. So be completely honest, because if you do get the job, nextly, and we're getting closer to like the closing portion of the interview, make it clear that you want the job. Do not be afraid to let them know that you want to pursue it, that you are looking forward to the next steps, that you're interested in working for this company, and then give them a couple of reasons why that company in particular specifically is the company where you want your next move to be. Most people do not hire based on a candidate who wants to be there 6 months and then move on. They're looking for somebody who wants to build a career. So keep that in mind as you pursue the company. It's not a bad thing to look like you want the job. Obviously, coming off desperate's different, but if you just are mentioning that you want to pursue this role and you think you'd be a good fit and these are the reasons why, it's an ideal thing to bring up towards the end of an interview, unless it comes up earlier on. But initiate it if they don't. If you're in a sales role, you are definitely going to want to close. And what I mean by close, you should know, is ask about the next steps, ask if there's any reason why they feel you would not be moving forward in the process. Ask them if you can take the job. Say, what if there is any hesitations, what can I do to alleviate them? But put a close on. If you're a salesperson, that's extremely important. I've worked with numerous hiring managers on the sales side that will not hire somebody or move forward if they do not at least attempt to close. Doesn't have to be perfect, but attempt it. Don't leave the interview without knowing what the steps are, though. No matter if you're a salesperson or not, you should walk out of the interview and be able to call your friends or recruiter or whoever you're working with, whoever got you the job opportunity. You should be able to walk out and say, hey, these are the next steps. I'm waiting on them to interview other candidates until I hear back. I'm going to go in for my second interview next week. They said they're going to finish up this week's round and then make a decision. Whatever it is, you should know the next step specifically before you walk out. And one of the good ways to do that is get the contact information, preferably the card, of everybody that you met, and send a very prompt follow-up. I mean, when you go to your car and sit in the parking lot, go ahead and send the follow-up. If that's not your style, honestly, it's the best style, so adopt it. But if not, go home and try to email them within the day at the very latest. But send a gracious follow-up email showing your gratitude. So those are some of the most important things. Now when closing, obviously we just talked about salespeople closing, that's great. But even if you're not in a sales role, at least leave letting them know, one, that you really want the job and you really need to know the next steps. And two, making sure that you get their contact information. And then thirdly, no matter what role you're applying for or interviewing for, make sure that they know, or you have conveyed throughout the interview process, how you can impact the value of that company. As we've mentioned in I think every video, every position is created to save or create value for the company. Therefore, whenever you're interviewing, you want them to know and understand specifically how you can impact the value of the company immediately. And is the ideal way to do it. So whether that's showing them ways that you can create value from a sales perspective or save value from an efficiency perspective, whatever it is, whatever project they're hiring you for, nail into that specifically before you get out of there. So those are some of the things, again, not an all-inclusive list of ways to nail an interview, but these are some of the best tactics that I've seen. And usually if candidates can follow these simple guidelines to the best of their ability, they seem to do fairly well. And if they don't do some of them, usually they don't move through. So keep this stuff in mind. Reach out to me as always if you have further questions or want to know a little bit more about it. My name is James Anderson. I've got all of my contacts and links in the bottom, like the description area. And we'll see you again in a couple of days. Thanks, you guys. This is The Grind.